How do you get into real estate if you have no money? I'm
Yeah.
asking this because I have a lot of friends, not that have no money, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that don't have a lot of money because people think you need
Yeah.
20% down. The average cost for a home now in America is like crazy.
Yeah,
And
it's
on top
nuts.
of that, with rates as high as they are, it's completely unaffordable for the average person. And on top of that, how can you do it like fast?
Yeah.
Because there was a guy, we were at this networking event last night that you threw, and I was talking to this kid, not a kid, but he was 24.
Yep.
And he had $80 million in real estate. He started when he was 19, but obviously the market was completely different
Sure.
5 years ago. Like you could go in, you could pay, but 5% down with rates as low as they were, it'd be affordable. You could actually make the payment. But
Yep.
now I feel like you just need to save up a ton for a big down payment and also have a strong enough income to be able to afford the monthly payment.
Sure. Yeah. So getting into real estate with no money, a couple strategies. First of all, the idea of you ever heard of FHA loan? Yeah, it's 3.5% down payment on a loan as long as you're living in the property for a year. And you can do that on a multifamily. This is my favorite strategy for new people getting into real estate, and I've done it multiple times now. You buy a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex, either 2, 3, or 4 unit. You can do it on a single family house as well. And then you live in one unit, rent the other ones out. So you could buy, let's call it $1 million fourplex, and you live in one unit, you rent the other 3 units out, and you can probably in today's market break even. You midterm rental those, and now all of a sudden you're making profit. You Airbnb them, now you're making a ton of profit. So that's one way to do it, is kind of a combination of the house hacking with those fringe strategies. The other way that I get into real estate, more from the investing side.
But how'd you
Yeah.
qualify for a loan though?
Yeah, I mean, FHA is not too hard to qualify for. I mean, I think you got to have a 620 credit score, give or take. Now, if you're sub 620 credit score, or you just don't have the income to justify it, you can bring in a partner into an FHA loan who has the income to justify it.
Say getting a cosigner.
You can basically get a cosigner. That's a doable way.
The thing is, though, if you're borrowing like $970,000,
Yeah.
especially with the rates where they're at right now, I feel like you'd need to be making like $20K a month.
Yes, they can sometimes use, though, the income from those other units to help you qualify.
Sometimes.
Some depends on the lender, and like I actually don't know if it's the rule or the lender's interpretation of the rule, because some lenders are like, yeah, we can just use that.
That's what I've heard as well.
Yeah, and some lenders are like, nope, you have to own the property be a landlord for 2 years first before we'll let you do that.
Yeah.
That's possible. And so yeah, if you can't qualify for that whole amount, yeah, the cosigner thing can help, because now all of a sudden they can use it. But they don't even technically call it a cosigner. I don't think with FHA. It's just like one person has to live in the property, the others don't. That's one strategy that could work. And honestly, $1 million for a fourplex is probably, I mean, that's like California prices. But in most areas in the country, you can find that fourplex for
Trying to dilapidate it.
yeah.
Like,
You buy a little fixer upper too. Actually, one of my favorite strategies, again, for a certain type of person, it's a FHA loan product called a 203K. It allows you to wrap in the repair costs and the purchase price into one lump, and you pay just 3.5% of the total. So you're basically financing the entire repairs through government money at super low amounts. So for example, you have $300,000 property, could be a duplex, triplex, single family, whatever. It's $300,000 and it needs $100,000 of work. So now you have $400,000 in it. Normally, you put 20% down on 300, so that's 60, and then you need 100 for repairs. Now you're at 160. That's a lot of money. But instead, they take the total amount, 3 plus 1, you're at 400,000. Take 3.5% of that. So what is that, like $15,000, give or take? And you put the $15,000 down, and then they fund the $100,000 needed for the rehab. That's a cool program, because now why would you do that? Because that property isn't worth $400,000. If you bought right, if you know what you're doing a little bit, you analyzed it right, you don't buy a $300,000 house, put $100,000 into it just to have a $400,000 house. That'd be silly. Just buy the $400,000 house. You do it because it's worth $500,000 or $600,000. So the reason I love that 203K loan is it's instant big equity. Like you build in equity right away from the front, like right away you got equity. And two, because you remodeled the house, I mean, you put $100,000 into it, you can get much higher rents. It's something I don't think a lot of people realize about landlording is like when you have a nice property, most properties aren't nice. Most rentals are not nice. I'm a bougie guy. I like nice stuff. So like if I was a tenant, I would pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars more for a house that looks like it was designed by Chip and Joanna Gaines than I would just for a house that is a white walls, boring, like ugly flooring, whatever. So you made this property nice. You get an extra $500 in income on each unit, let's just say. So your cash flow is up $1,500 a month. So maybe it would have been a break even. Now you're making $1,500 to live for free, and you have a couple $100,000 of equity. Win, 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 win. So anyway, I love that strategy. 203K loan, very, very cool. The other way to do it on the investment side, let's say you're like, well, I don't have a lot of money, but I don't really want to buy a house for myself. I like being whatever. I like not owning a house, or I already own one. The simple answer there is just partnerships. Like, I mean, that's literally how I grew to 13,000 units. I didn't do it myself. I have 2,500 partners. And so let's go real simple though. I bought a triplex one time, or I found a triplex. I really wanted this property. I knew it was going to cash flow. It was super cheap. Now, again, this is 15 years ago, but back then it was like 50 grand for this fourplex or triplex. I didn't have any money though. I was broke. I had no job. I was just trying to like flip. It was like way back when I was like working on that single house that I lost all the money at. But I knew the deal was going to work out. So I just went to a buddy of mine, actually a guy from church. He was like the sound guy at church. We talked a lot. I knew he worked for the county as like an administrator, network administrator. I went to him and I was just telling him about this deal. I'm like, yeah, I just found this really cool triplex. Do you know anybody who'd want to like partner on it? Like after I explain the deal, I never like to ask people directly. It's more because I don't want to be weird with family and friends or whatever. So I'm just like, do you know anybody? He's like, actually, we might be interested. What do you need? I'm like, probably just like 40 grand is really all it would take for the down payment on this thing. He's like, yeah, we can do that. And so he partnered with me. I did the work. I found the deal. Like I managed some contractors. I managed the property. He put in money. That was it. I got that deal. Every year we would meet together at a little Mexican restaurant. This was our routine for a good 8 years. Little Mexican restaurant. We'd sit down, my wife and me, his wife and him, sit down, we'd get our food, and then we'd write ourselves checks of the profit from the previous year. And it was always like 5 grand each of us would make. And again, not crazy money here, but it's just a little tiny like $100,000 triplex, whatever. But it was like 5 grand they would make every year, and I'd make 5 grand every year. And I put $0 into that. You can do that with a single family, a duplex, a 10 unit, a 100 unit, an industrial like warehouse, apartment complex, anything. There are people in America, a lot of them, who have a lot of money. Like, do you know the stats on how many millionaires are in America? I don't offhand. It's a lot.
Yeah, higher than you would think.
Yeah, it's way higher than you think. There's so many people with money. I mean, I know you polled your audience recently. I polled my audience recently. Like, we have a lot of people with money that follow us, but they don't have time. They don't have passion or desire to go learn how to do this game. But here's the fun thing about real estate. Real estate is sexy. And what I mean by that, if you poll, we should do this poll actually. Yeah. If you polled 10,000 Americans and said, do you think real estate investing is a good idea someday for you? Like, do you want to someday invest in real estate? What percentage are going to say yes? 99%. Yeah. Everybody knows real estate's fun and cool and a good way to make money. Most people just don't think they can do it, but everyone likes the idea of it. There's just something American about real estate investing. So anyway, now you're the expert. You know what you're doing. You find the deals. You're just good at this because you listen to the podcast and read the books and all that. There are way more people out there that are rich with no time that would work with you than there are like people to do what you are. The bar is very low for finding deals. Nobody wants to work. Lots of people have money.